Hey everybody, good morning and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Justin. How are you all this morning? Happy Tuesday. We're a day closer to the weekend. We gotta think in terms of that, right? Yo, Alpha, sup? Long time no see. Bean Mitch, thank you. 11 months. Ooh, you're almost to your sub-anniversary. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Super awesome. Everybody looks like they're happy, more or less. Hey, Mighty Lancer. Everybody is here. Yay! Yeah, it's a pretty genie day, so we will be continuing with cloudy stuff, I think, and maybe we'll do some gold, just block in maybe some shadows on our lamp and our Oh, 2-3 days ago? I guess because I don't see you every day, Alpha. Like, there's some people on this stream I see every day. Not that, you know... So it's just like if I haven't seen you in a little bit, or if my brain hasn't remembered you, which remember, brain cells just falling out of the ears these days. So give me some credit here. It seems like forever. Hello, Original. How's it going? 2-3 days ago. And a ding dong. Yep. I don't think we're going to do a lot of gold today, though. I want to do the clouds more. I want to work on her base. I really like the dark blue and how it's working out as a grounder. I was just wondering if I'm going to do the same thing on her hair, because I'm going to need to bring this hair up to white, like really strongly white. And so I want to have some shadows there. And I was debating whether I wanted to make those shadows the blue, or if I wanted to go with more of like a stormy gray for her hair, because it's a different color up there. Going gray is going to make it look heavier. So I'm not certain yet. But yeah. All right, so let's grab our ultramarine. As we all know, that is the foundation of all good genie blues, or at least this good genie blue. Let's see, that's cyan. We don't want that one. We want this one. Ultramarine blue 9188. Yes, work is very inconvenient. I agree. I'm there with you. Let's see, we need a lemon yellow. We're using a lot of lemon yellow lately for our happy highlights. And then I might keep Dungeon Slime out. I was kind of mixing a green, but now that I look at Dungeon Slime, it is a great match for these. You can see how they're all in the same kind of color, right? They're all that pastel color. So maybe we'll do that. And do Dungeon Slime for the very short. I don't want a lot of green transition, because green tends to say, you know, like nature, and I don't want too much of that. You don't normally see green in dawn unless it's like right there, like just when the dawn starts to come up, maybe the sky turns a little greenish. So I don't want to hesitate real long on the green in here. I want to move through to the purple probably, just so I get contrast. So... Oh, good. That's fantastic, Lord Nobody, that your eyes are getting better. Yeah, practice makes better. Practice is never perfect. Like, I still screw up eyes. I still have eyes where I just fight with them and fight with them and fight with them. Hello, Otter Mama. I hope the little otter is doing better today. All right, let's see here. So then I need to worry about what I want to do for purple. And I think I want to go... I don't know if Icy Violet's going to be purple enough, but I could probably mix some Runic Glow into it and make it more of a reddish purple. That's what I want for the tail end down here, I think, on the lamp. I think that's about right. I think that's what we're going for. So these colors they're all very Easter. We have very Easter color scheme at this point. Good. Everybody's got a bad day every once in a while. Even me. I've had a couple lately. But I'm working with it. Most of it's mindset. But kids don't understand mindset. They're just like having a bad day. All right, let's see here. Let's go green and yellow and mix up our shadow. No, I think that would be I think that'd be confusing, Pendrake. I mean, clouds, I mean, yeah, they can be see-through, but this is really thick. I don't think that really would work very well. You could do it, but I don't know if it would carry. You have to ask, the problem is with transparency, you don't want to do it if there's a lot of mass. You only want to do it if it's right up against the model. So like, if her skin is pinkish and if she was wearing anything down here, because it's right against the surface, you could get away with it. But when you've got mass between where the light is falling and the color, you're just not going to see that with a translucent effect. Like, think about translucency, the rules of translucency in miniatures and what it takes to make it work are that you've got to have the surface that's translucent right up against the surface that you're trying to show color through. So if her hair was straight and not so swirly and it came curved down over her butt, you could totally do that. But because there's so much mass here, you can't do it. Does that make sense to you? Like, that just because there's so much, it's just, you just can't make it look right because miniatures are solid, they're not see-through. Like, there are limits. There are limits to what you can do. Like, Rhonda even mentioned this. I think she talked about smoke and fog effects and how hard they were to do. Because you can't, it doesn't look right if you try to do that. So, no, not at all. Because it doesn't work. It's just, like I said, when you've got too much mass, you gotta, whenever you do translucency, the surface has to be like right up against what you're trying to telegraph. Or people aren't going to understand what you're doing. Morning, Val. Oh, yeah, it's a scabbard attach point. Sorry, Shadow Raven. I just haven't dealt with the sword. I probably won't deal with the sword for a while. Because I still have to decide what I'm going to do with the blade. Because I need to figure out, like, colors back here. I was going to take the blade blue, but now it looks like it's going to be up against a lot of blue. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I may have to take it. I don't even know. I could fill it in and just not use it. I think she's a good figure without it. I'm not thrilled about the sword, to be frank. There are times on a model where I'm like, I don't like this piece, and I just get rid of it. Like the top of the staff on the orc, the half orc that we're painting, where I looked at that and I'm like, it looks like a piece of flash. I'm not painting it. It's probably meant to be a bone or something, but oh well. But yeah, so anyway, the rule of, if you're going to suggest transparency ever, you need it a lot closer than it is here. So this is a huge, massive, the hair is even thicker than her body. So it's just, if you tried to imply that you could see that through it, it would get in your way, for one thing, because you've got all these things that you need to highlight and create mass, and form with. Not really mass, but I mean, it is a mass, and that takes up a volume, I guess. It's a volume. It takes up space. So that would not be a successful choice for doing any see-through effect. Alrighty, cool. Because there are just some things on miniatures that sound like great ideas, and then they just won't work. Alright, let me see. We had to use a lot of white. Because this ultramarine blue is so strong. Yeah, I like it better. Yeah, without the sword. For sure. I mean, the sword adds a little bit of dynamism, but I don't think she needs it. I think she's good by herself. But Reaper does like to give all NPC monsters weapons. If appropriate, right? If they're not a beast. So I think that's part of it. Oh, I think Izzy also. I think this is also an Izzy drawing, and keeping that in mind, give the model some way to attack. Because remember, at the bottom of it all, Reaper is producing models for D&D. And even though genies are typically like good or chaotic good aligned, I forget what their alignment is, but you could totally get into a conflict with one. Alrighty, I want to get this blue to the point where it was previously. It looks like about a 4-to-1 pure white to ultramarine blue will get me close to my, the blue shadow I was using down here. I think I'm close. I actually might need to even go a little darker than that. Hey, Nomad, how's it going? You showed up late. It's okay. We were on time. What can I say? It's one of those days. I'll have a video for you. Those of you who are my patrons, I'll have a video for you later today. I decided to like put off the dramatic lighting video and do non-human skin tones instead. Because I had a request for it. I'm just going to mix up a little bit of a darker blue with the ultramarine. Because I just feel like my shadows down here are a little bit... I let them get a little bit darker, like down here on the bottom. You can see it. I want to be able to create that volume, so I'm going to create a darker mix. So 2-to-1. Ultramarine blue, or sorry, white to ultramarine blue. Just to go a little bit darker. If you mix up a shadow and it is a little too dark, but it's close, you can always just thin it a little more. Yeah, there's a lot of talk and showing examples in it, Kerniko, because I essentially stole a bunch of David's models. But I do paint a quick example as well. But it's essentially just what a lot of people miss when they're doing like frost giants or orcs or half orcs if they're trying to make the model look more human. Or create character, I should say. Sometimes you're just not trying to like make a demi-human look more human so much as you are trying to create a character with it, but it helps to do certain things. Heh. I say it's absent. Maybe I'll just green stuff the spot on her butt on camera. Sounds fun. Let's do it. All about green stuff, butt green stuff. It's all about that. Yeah, I mean, it's really swoopy. It is definitely a genie sword, right? It's got kind of the swirlies in it, like it's an air blade, which could be cool and all that. I just don't know. I like her better without it. I really do. Like, looking at it, and I'm like, painting the blade of this would make no sense to me. Alrighty. So now we'll get our pastels laid out. We're going to get a little bit more of our yellow. We're going to transition to blue. I'm going to leave a space for the pink just in case I need it. I'm going to try some Dungeon Slime and see if it works. Now, Dungeon Slime is very yellow, and what we may end up getting is just like a slightly different yellow appearance. Sometimes when you're layering two different colors over each other, when the color that you're layering over the top is it kind of slides more one way or the other. It won't, like if this is a lot of yellow in it, it might not look green. It might look more yellow when we put it over there. We'll see. Because it is a very pale green. I may need to mix a tiny bit of blue into it. And it wants to clog. It's just not a day. It's just like... Yeah, I kind of like it better without it for that reason too. She's cheeky and she's a genie. She's got magic. She doesn't need to wave a blade at you. Like, the blade makes sense as a fashion accessory. But I don't feel it's very... If it was in a scabbard that I could paint a contrasting color... But again, she's a genie. It's an air blade. She doesn't need it in a scabbard. It just sticks to her because it's part of her. But I wish it was in a scabbard. Like, I almost like... Yeah, it's just like... Yeah. In retrospect. It was too swervy to be in a scabbard because you'd have to have a giant box-shaped scabbard for it because it's so swervy and curvy. So that doesn't work either. I don't know. I give up. Haha. Thanks, Quindy. Good one. Lulz. Lulz indeed. Okay, and I do like the Icy Violet as our purple color, but I do think it needs just a little bit more pink. So I'm going to put 1 drop of Runic Glow in it, which should spice it right up. Now we are noticing that we definitely have a much, like, this is a darker color than like this one, right? The Dungeon Slime is really light. So we'll have to look at that and see if we maybe need to just darken it just a tiny bit. I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to put just a little smear of Naga green in here. And by little smear, I mean little smear. When you're like just kind of adjusting a color very slightly, I don't even use a full drop. Come on, there. A tiny smear. We'll see how that works. I just felt like it needed to be a little greener, so I had Naga Green up here, so I decided to do it. Hey, Varl, 19 months and a 10-month streak. Awesome. Thank you. We at Reaper Twitch really appreciate it. I don't know. See, then, Nomad Zeke, when you make up narratives like that, the thing is you've got to think of your audience. Like, when your narrative is really far-fetched, or it's making up a story that doesn't instantly make sense to your viewer. Like, for me, I had to stop and think about what you were saying. So to me, that says that wouldn't work, because some people would maybe get it, and some people wouldn't get it, and some people would be like, wow, that just looks kind of wrong. So whenever you're making up a complicated narrative for why something is something on a miniature, understand that unless you can communicate it really, really simply, yeah, I like this spring green a little bit better. Unless you can communicate it really clearly, a lot of people probably won't get it. And if you don't mind that, then you don't mind that. But painting a miniature is about conveying information clearly, which is why contrast, why we put more contrast, why we do lining, why we, we're trying to make all the details stand out. That's conveying information about the figure, right? Because otherwise, if the mini isn't painted, you really, it just looks like a metal thing, and you can't really see any of the details. This might be a little dark, this purple. We might have to add a little white, because Icy Violet, you can see how much darker it is than the yellow and the green. And ideally, when I'm doing these, I like it to be about the same level. So I'm going to try this and see if I like it, but I'm betting that it's just going to, because I'm using these for highlights, these colors, they're kind of highlights. They're swirly highlights. But because I'm using them kind of to highlight these swirls, I feel like that might be too dark. We'll see. The nice thing about putting purple on the end, not only does it go in with our rainbow order, but the nice thing of putting purple back here also is that it's complementary color to our little gold lamp. So we'll try it. We'll work it. So our happy colors, we have a very nice, pretty palette today. I'm not mixing up the pink because we've mostly already done the runic glow plus white. So, all right, glasses, and let's paint some swirlies. And do some shading. And I'm still thinking about the hair. I do like this darker kind of gray neutral shadow back here. So maybe I need to mix some ultramarine with a little bit of gray and go at it that way, so that her hair does read as a different color. It's these kind of things that I just try to work out. Then her hair would be blonde and not white, Pendrake. Some part of me, instinctively reacted to that question, I will admit, with a yuck. But that's, my gut. Everybody's gut is going to be different on color, right? So just because I don't like that idea doesn't mean it can't work. But if you were going to go that way, Pendrake, if I was going to go with any yellow in her hair at all, I wouldn't be ambiguous about it. I would just go and make her hair bronze or something, right? But I wanted it to be more like clouds or mist. So yellow doesn't make sense in that connotation. Not unless you've got a firelight or something that's causing red or orange or yellow shadows, I don't know, somewhere in the hair. It doesn't really make sense to me. In what reality would the hair have yellow shadows? It would be, at that point, what you'd essentially create is you'd create a platinum blonde. Because it wouldn't read, yeah, but I don't want her blonde. I want white. I mean, but that's what you'd create if you did that. If you did a blonde, you would essentially, if you did yellow, you would essentially turn her into a blonde. But I really don't like that idea. The reason I don't like it is that we've got a fair amount of very vibrant, paler yellow on here. So I think that doing the hair as well would just be, for me and this concept, it would be too much yellow. I really wanted to have more sky colors than I did, the yellow. So could you do it? Yes. Do I want to do it? No, because I feel like it would be too much yellow. There's a lot of this. I can see, Pendrick, just from the things you bring up, you and I have very different concepts on color. That is not a bad thing. Although I have a good natural innate sense for color, I also definitely have preferences. Everybody's going to have preferences. And your preferences should develop separately from anybody else's, right? You are going to be naturally attracted to some colors that I think are grody, and I'm going to use some colors that you think are boring, and that's the way it works, right? Everybody should use what works for them. Everybody's sense is different. I mean, we all wear different color clothes for a reason. You could go that way. It would make her hair look much heavier and more solid. Shadow Raven, which isn't a bad thing because, I mean, she is more solid up top and she's less solid down below. So you could go that way. The reason I didn't is because this hair is sculpted a lot like the mist down below. And so to me, that suggested that Bobby was trying to draw a connection between the two, like that they were both kind of going off into etherealness. But yeah, you could do, I mean, there is no right or wrong here. There is only how you intend to paint the model. That said, at this state of the model, I'm usually pretty firm on what I want to do. And if I didn't like how the hair was turning out, I probably would have repainted it prior to this. But yeah, if you wanted to give her, you could actually draw her brows together a little more, give her more of a wicked angry look, and do like stormy black hair, and it would work. Okay, I'm going to add in some dark shadows on the backside here. Remember, we went very, very dark blue with these shadows down under here, which I really liked. So we're going to go the same way in the back here. Just want to get some of this stuff kind of blocked in. I really like adding this deep blue. It really makes all of the swirls come out. And because it's not like a really gray color, it looks like an unnatural shadow, so it looks magical. So that's how you can get away with it, with making a darker shadow, but still having it kind of look ethereal or magical. Is the color. The color is vibrant. It's more vibrant than any natural shadow would be. But yeah, at this stage of the model, I'm pretty solid on what I'm doing. Like, I'm still experimenting a little bit here and there, but the tuning is very slight at this point. It's kind of like, it's a lot like writing, actually, where you do your rough draft, maybe, and a lot of people will do it like, Rhonda talked about this in her latest, in one of her blog entries, she's got, she linked to it yesterday. It's in her, the hands-on article that she did, Contrast Hands-On. She talks about sketch style and how... And David paints using sketch style, which is, you know, how you block in everything loosely and then to see if it works, and then you start refining it. And the idea is that there's less wasted work. For some painters, I think that's absolutely correct. Like, for me, I find that it is a very rare day when I get into trouble with my initial concept. So... But yeah, for me, like, since I'm working slowly at it, I get to my concept at this stage of the game, I'm pretty solid. If you do sketch style, you arrive at your concept, you're very solid on your concept, like, from the first, because that's what you're testing. With sketch style, you just block in colors, highlights, and shadows very quickly, and you don't blend. So you are essentially just testing to see if you like your composition and your color choices from the beginning. Then you start doing the work of blending and refining. Right. Well, most of the time your what ifs are, if your what if is like a decent idea, like if it would work, or if it wouldn't work, I'll tell you flat out, like with the hair transparency thing. Like, or how it would be problematic. I mean, maybe you could make it work. I don't know. I could see it being very difficult to make work, though. Like, because of the nature of miniatures, because of the nature of the illusion. So I'm doing some wet blending here, because I want a quick blend on this. And honestly, if I ever did sketch style, I probably would end up doing a lot of wet blending. Yeah, Trouble. It's called sketch style. Matt DiPietro and, what's his name? Alfonso? Banshee do do a lot of it. They're just essentially like not blending, blocking everything in super fast. And the point is to test your concept. And then when you get something you like, then you start refining. So it's supposed to save you time, because then if something doesn't start to work, you see it right at the beginning. If you paint more like me in a step-by-step, I feel like you don't waste a lot of time either, because while you're painting some other part of the miniature, you're kind of thinking about other parts, ideally. So it's all about how you paint. Like, everybody is different. Definitely, I mean, sketch style is very, very nice, I think. I've been tempted to try it on busts, especially. Just, if you're trying to get lighting right, I think sketch style is supreme. Because you really should be able to see just before you ever blend, but just with the blocking in, you should be able to see whether it's working. Maybe not if you're not real confident about light yet, but once you get to a point, it lets you kind of like give it your gut test without committing fully. But I do think that maybe sketch style has a little less intrinsic value if you're maybe still struggling with values and highlights and stuff. Oh, did we get a raid? I missed it. Sorry. Oh, Zambies. Poof. Yeah, so all right. As Anne just kind of wanders on and doesn't even see the raid. Hello, raid. Let me see. Where are you? Oh, wow. 110. Hello, everybody. I am Anne. We're painting a genie. We're talking about various things about color and choices and such things like that. This is my genie. She is Ashana. She's one of the first of the Bones Black models. So her item number is 4412 and 012, and she is sculpted by the amazing Bobby Jackson. Many of you will have already seen this figure. She's been out for a while. Yeah, Harumph, yeah. But I think to make sketch style work that way, you have to have a certain like amount of fundamentals in you. Like you have to like understand, like, you know, you have to understand kind of color and light. If you still pick a color and hesitate as to whether other colors work with it, even when you're looking at them next to it, I think then maybe sketch style might get you out of your depth. Developing an eye for how colors go together, I feel like you kind of do it with experience, right? So maybe sketch style would accelerate that experience. I don't know. It's a hard call. Bye, Lancer. Enjoy your tea. But yeah, I would say that, I mean, Alfonso teaches color. And so you know that with him, you're dealing with a master of color, like master level. And that's why he can go so fast. Like his gut is going to tell him instantly if something isn't working, or he's going to push it and then go, I can make this work, right? With me, I'm always looking at stuff, though, with an eye toward the beginning painter, or the painter who's coming back to the hobby after being out of it for a long time. Because we see so many of you. And so whenever we start talking about something like sketch style, I'm like, this is a cool thing, but how useful is it if you're new, right? And I guess it depends, because if you have a little bit of a traditional art background, or you've just got a very good fashion sense, color sense, I think that you could probably jump into sketch style and get some mileage out of it, right? You'd still be maybe a little weak on technique. You'd need to catch up with, like, you know, your layering, glazing, various types of blending, textures, things like that, right? So your brushstroke technique might suffer a bit until it catches up. But you could nonetheless get a lot of mileage out of it if you've just got a good grasp of color and of contrast. So we're doing a bit of wet blending here, guys. So our little clouds down here are going to get highlighted with various rainbowy hues that I already have mixed up. We started out with pink and went into orange and yellow, and so I'm going to green to purple now back here, but I wanted to get my shadow colors kind of in. And we're using this deep blue as a shadow color because it is less realistic. And I wanted that because this is all like magical smoke. So I didn't want to go with a very, like a gray, grayed color, because a gray would be more of a natural shadow. It would imply probably a sooty, dirty cloud. And it would also imply a lot of weight. And I feel like I wanted her to be pretty ethereal. So I wanted it to go that way. So then Trouble, that means that you should work on that then with your sketch style. Like, sketch style is very good also for working on your highlighting, especially, I think. And starting to see the light, right? So if you were interested in going that way, if you wanted to get there, if that was a goal of yours, you're in a good position having worked with Sketch. I mean, I was kind of like you. I had a very, very good grasp of color, but I needed to work on my sense of light. And even now, there are many models like this one where I'm not doing a very strong light source. I'm just kind of doing the gaming model light source. Like, I've got a bit of an overhead light source, but I'm not like punching it, you know, dramatically or anything. That's for other models. We did that on Rock Troll, where he was in a cave, and I felt it was far more likely we would have a very dramatic overhead light source falling through like a hole in the roof of his cave. But a lot of the time, I'm not going for a very dramatic light source on these sort of things. Alrighty. I want a little bit more shadow. We're going to block a little bit more in. I'm using my big brush today because she is a larger figure, as you can see from my hand. Hello, Twisted Oma. Yeah, it's not fun to me, though, Harumph. Like, I see it, but it's not, like it really is, like, it can be very useful that way. I could see your point, right? Because people get frozen very easily on color. But to speak very frankly, I don't find it fun at all. It really offends my sense of the universe. Like, okay, like I did it on Troll. I did it on Rock Troll. Like, Rock Troll was my, okay, here, let's paint a model like David or Alfonso or, you know, those people I know, DiPietro, who do sketch style. And it was fun for Rock Troll, but I think it's because he was simple. Like, I would not enjoy doing it on a more complex model. So again, it comes back to, if it works for you, you run with it, man. And if it doesn't work for you, don't feel like you have to force it. There are just as many painters who like sketch style as don't like sketch style, and they'll all have different reasons. And so, I mean, it all comes back to, this is where, to draw a martial arts analogy, because I've still been listening to this Bruce Lee biography on my walks, but, you know, discard, look for the things that work for you and discard the rest, right? Like, give a thing a try. If it doesn't work, discard it. Because, I mean, it's about you as a painter. It's not about you, like, you don't need to learn sketch style to be a good painter. If it serves you well, then you should absolutely embrace it. But don't force it. Like, all of your painting, you know, like, experiments should be just that. Like, fun experiments to see, try a new thing. Does this thing resonate with me? Do I really find it useful? Is it, you know, taking me where I want to go? Like, is it increasing my speed? Is it increasing my color awareness? Is it increasing my shadow or highlight awareness? You know, or am I just having fun or not having fun, right? And sometimes we lose sight of that. And I can, you know, get there as well as anyone, where sometimes I'm just like, I need to become better at this. And I totally lose sight of the fun. And I think we should never lose sight of the fun. And about when I lose sight of the fun completely is when I really hate the model. So we're blocking in more shadows in line with the swirls back here. Yeah, it was a fun exercise, and that can really help with lighting. Yeah, it's not for everyone. Well, and if you enjoy it and get good results with it, Haram, like, rock on. Like, I do admire people who get such wonderful results with it. Because it can really, I mean, it is kind of cool that things start looking good, like, right from the beginning. Like if you do sketch, you should be able to hold the model out at arm's length, and because at that point blending doesn't matter, if everything looks fantastic, then you know you've nailed it. And then you can bring it in. And, I mean, David always talks about this. He complains that I don't, like, you know, tell you guys to do this more. But that whole arm's length test, like, the model, even if you're painting, especially if you're painting, you know, for a really, you know, high standard, and Rhonda talks about this in her blog too, but you should do the arm's length test and the close-in test to see if your model is really going where you want it to go. So I'm just blocking in some lighter areas here. These are going to be colored, but I just wanted to kind of get a sense of if I've overshadowed, over highlighted, etc. But yeah, the arm's length test combined with the close-in test. Like, if I looked at my model on the shelf after I put it up on the shelf and it's like just kind of sitting there and I can't see the details very well, I probably need to pop the contrast up. I think the best OSL tutorial... Well, it depends on how advanced you are, and I'm not sure how advanced Jeff Davis's OSL is. But I really feel like, I mean, I'm biased, right? I think my boyfriend has the best OSL tutorial. But it's not a video, it's, he does PDFs. Although he does also have his OSL class, which I think is still up online from ReaperCon, which is well worth looking into. And if you haven't checked out David's written OSL PDF, for those of you who might learn, like me, I learn better if I'm reading than if I'm doing so or watching. It's lightminiatures.com. All right, so I'm pretty much now. I am kind of sketching highlights in here. I'm not worried about blending. I'm more worried about, you know, okay, where are my shadows coming in? Where's my light? Just kind of touching little parts of the top of these little clouds and then kind of looking at it to see if I like it. All right, let's get into the color. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's, you know what? I'm gonna need a little orange. I think I do need some orange back up in there. Gonna have to mix up orange whether I wanted to or not. Dang it. 1 drop of pink, 3 drops of yellow. Yeah, thank you, Quindy. There we go. So that's David's class from ReaperCon, OSL. And if you are a good reading comprehension person, you may want to read his article on his miniatures site first, because then when you go to that, you'll kind of come in already with a little bit of the grasp of the way he thinks about it, but you don't have to. It's useful no matter what. So yeah, there's a lot of useful classes from ReaperCon on the Reaper YouTube. So by all means. So mixing our lemon yellow and our, we get a nice creamsicle orange. You guys all remember our beautiful creamsicle orange, right? There is a fair amount, although, I mean, David breaks it down into various rules, and I think that's a good thing to do. For me, it's mostly light direction and light intensity. I think there's two things to start with, and then you start adding in the other things. So, like, the thing is, Shadow Raven, I feel like sometimes it's useful to, like, try to take a broad learning thing where it talks about all the different things about OSL, like, you know, the fact that light changes color when you paint it, when it goes over another color, right? Things like that. But sometimes I think that when you're starting out with it, really just concentrate on the most simple things, which is the direction and the strength, how the strength reduces very quickly. Then work on some other things. Like colored light changing the object's color, which can get very, very weird very quickly. You like David's method better? Well, yay! Thanks, Otter Mama. You've played to my bias. But Nordic White is the new Platinum Blonde Vogue. Well, they're like 2 years behind us, right? And Sadie was dyeing her hair Nordic White for a while. Or silver. Yeah, and over and on different models, right? Okay, so let's try some green and see if I like it. I think it's still going to look really yellow. And remember, we're stippling. But I'm not using a crappy brush for my stippling. I'm using my good brush. But I'm using kind of the side of it. The side of the tip. So that I don't blunt the tip. That way I can still get the speckle pattern. Let's get close. I can still get the speckly pattern, but I don't get the... I don't bust my tip. I feel like I need a little bit of blending over here. Also use a pretty light touch with it as far as the pressure I'm putting on the brush when I'm stippling. I'm using a thinner paint. Yeah, Sadie's ahead of the curve. I don't know, did he do a PDF for it as well? I thought there was just his article that he references, but maybe he did have a PDF. I don't remember. He's in meetings all day today, or I would go ask him, but he's in meeting hell, so. So I do not want to disrupt his day. I am a disruptive enough influence as it is. All right, so we're getting some green in here. And although it is a little bit, you can see that it's different from the yellow, but it's not like huge difference. In person, I think it's more visible. Hi, Voncom, I'm doing okay. Yeah, white was popular because of the Targaryens, in my opinion. Like, Game of Thrones made white hair popular again. It's not like it hasn't been in vogue before. But now it's probably going elsewhere. Like, the fashion never stays in for more than a year. It's the silly thing about it. Alrighty, so just doing some specklies. These are a little bit bigger specklies, so I can make them a little finer. I've also got a pretty hard line with my blue there. I don't like that very much, so I'm going to grab some lighter blue and kind of speckle that out. I don't want to lose it, because it's definitely helping to define the area, but I want to make it a little lighter, so I'm going to stipple some lighter blue over the top of it. Take it down a little bit. It didn't need to be that dark, because it's on the upper side of a swirl. So it really needed to be lighter than that. Then I can bring more of my green in. Yeah, I think he probably just referred you guys because the article is so good. It's like #1 on Google, like for OSL articles, I think. But it's on LIGHT Miniatures, LIGHTminiatures.com. And just look at his blog. I think he's got his articles on his blog. So I probably have this green a little bit strong. It's very high coverage color. Dungeon Slime is a very high coverage green. So I'll take it down a little bit. There we go. Thanks, Quindy. Yeah, the article's on there, and it talks about the fundamentals that he discusses in his class. So use them as a duo. He's very good at light. What's really funny is that he and I are starting to cross styles more. Like, one of the models he's painting right now is very much, it was almost an Anne style as far as the light goes, and not a David style. And I'm like I'm nabbing pieces of what he does as well. So like when you're living with another miniature painter, you're just like starting to free feed off each other in terms of ideas. It's really funny. Yeah, object source lighting. You're right, Rex. Thanks for that. You're right. Alien Goo is a lot brighter. It's less pastel. Dungeon Slime is You could use Alien Goo Jabberwock, but I would put white in it because Alien Goo is a little bit more, I think, a little bit more transparent. You could use it though. It works. The one I would really add white to is Moth Green, which is another. We have a lot of these yellow greens. But Dungeon Slime is my favorite. Let's see here. I want a little bit more blue in here. Trying to kind of put blue in between areas. Nikki, when I was a little kid, I got into Dungeons and Dragons, and the first set of miniatures that I got was the Dungeon Explorers from, I think, Grenadier. And so I thought they were fantastic, and then I was really interested in miniatures from that point on. I didn't do much painting of them around then. I just kind of futzed around with it, but I didn't really get into it more until college. At which point, there was a game store. Like, I went to Madison, Wisconsin for college, and there was a game store right there on State Street, so I could finally just walk in and buy a miniature instead of mail ordering them. And then I got into several role-playing games through the people I met there, so that made me have a motivation to paint miniatures more. And then I started working at that game store after college, and then they were all like, you can paint, you need to play Warhammer with us, and that was it. Like, I was painting a lot, and I was an art student, so I recognized that, you know, I was fairly decent at it. I had kind of a leg up because of the art background that I had. So I started painting and selling my figures on consignment in the store. I sold all my magic cards to get miniature supplies. That was probably the best sale. The best thing I got out of magic cards was selling them so that I could get more miniatures. And yeah, at that point, I started looking at White Dwarf magazine, and there was the Golden Demon painting competition. That was the national, really, Gen Con and Golden Demon were the big national competitions. And I decided that I wanted to get better at painting. Like, I saw the awesome stuff that people were doing with it, and realized, realized that it was an art form, or could be, and kind of embraced that. So I started teaching, and I started working on my painting skills and it getting better. And I started looking at people were selling stuff on eBay and making a fair amount of money with it. So I started doing that. And it all just evolved until suddenly I had a career. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but it's long. Suffice to say that I quit my real job to try painting miniatures for a year. I made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot about what it takes to make freelancing work. But after that time, I had gotten very much better and won a couple of Golden Demons. I moved back to the Midwest while I was between figuring out what I was going to do. And that's when Reaper brought me down for the first ever artist conference and offered me a job. So then I spent 17 years working for Reaper, 18 years now. Sorry. Got to update my mental tally. Just had my 18-year anniversary at the start of April of working for Reaper. So whenever I'm doing any additional highlighting and shading or trying to correct things, guys, I'm using stippling. I'm using little dots. I do have to remember that if I'm using a color that has a lot of white in it, I need to thin it a bit more. If you're trying to do kind of a smooth blended effect with stippling, you want to thin your paint a lot with it. And use very little paint on your brush. Just like with regular layering. Like stippling layering, stippling is the same as layering. Like you're still wanting to use thinner paint, and you're still, wanting to glaze if you want to smooth your transitions and stuff like that. Foggy Gray, Pendrake. Foggy Gray is the lightest. It comes in Dungeon Dwellers. Misty Gray is the next lightest. That's 9090. It's the item number. All right. Yeah, I can do with this green. I think I'm going to put green Yeah, I think I'm going to go yellow up here, though. I feel like I want to do yellow on the top. The bot has an insatiable hunger for URLs, yes. But yes, I've been painting miniatures, at least into painting miniatures, since I was very small. So it has been a very long time, but I don't think I didn't start to get better until college. Then I started really painting a lot more of them, and the more you paint, the better you get. There does come a point where it isn't necessarily true that the more you paint, the better you get. There does come a point where you have to actually try to get better. Like, because you'll plateau out with a certain set of techniques that you're very comfortable with, and you get good results with them. And then it's up to you if you want to take that and push it farther, or if you're happy where you are. Some people just, decide they're happy where they are, and that's their happy point in painting, and they stick with that, and that is A-okay. But I would have pretty much stayed at like a good gaming level if I hadn't decided that I wanted to improve and started working on how I could improve. And for me, I decided that I thought the Skull and Demon stuff was pretty awesome, and I wanted to be able to create really awesome things like that. Wanted to be able to produce a work that made me happy because it looked really awesome, and I thought it looked really awesome. Well, no small parts. First you want to get to a decent gaming level, but I mean, getting better means like practicing techniques like layering. Learning glazing, like trying to learn other techniques is really where you start, right? Because maybe when you're starting with the game, like when I was doing gaming paint jobs back at the game store, I was base coating, I was maybe doing a wash or doing a basic level of shading. It was very much the same. Like I didn't vary the light. It was very much what I call now a Games Workshop style paint job, where the lighting was the same over the whole figure, and it really wasn't lighting. So I was painting like decent kind of block painted with a highlight gaming jobs. And because I had good brush control, they looked good. And I could do freehand because I had the 2D art background, but like there wasn't really any lighting or blending or, it just didn't look as good as I thought I could make it look. So when I first started, that was when smooth blending was really in vogue, and a lot of people were talking about how to do it. So that's where I started, was to learn better layering so that I could do smooth blends if I wanted to. And I also worked on just getting my brush control better so that I could do smaller details. So I'd say that's where I started. Getting better at lining. Once lining kind of came in from like the confrontation models of the time, like lining became that style became popular. Because lining itself is like optional. You could also just shade things. Lining is just a very simplified way of shading. So as I go up here onto her leg proper, I'm going to stop the stippling, because I want this to be more smooth. And then from there, I mean, I kind of put on my Patreon, I kind of have put down a list. I have a PDF list of kind of the techniques in the order that I think they're useful to learn. And in many ways, it's based on my own learning curve, so it may or may not serve you, but at least it gives you a list of techniques in mini painting. Their biggest difference, oh yeah, that one I sold. It was a fan in France who bought that one, Bryce. Like I actually sold that. Since that was my second demon, I sold that model. It's living in France somewhere. That's all I can say. It's living in France with a very, very long time and fan. Yeah, getting better. I mean, and it's different. It's a different journey for everybody, right? Like, small parts in Angry Ham. Yeah. Yeah, well, especially, I look at that model now, Bryce, and I could do it so much better, right? Like, if I repainted Nisus, who is my Alpha Legion general that got my first Golden Demon, like, I could see his weaknesses. Like, I'm like, oh, man. But, I'm still, the freehand is still really nice. It's still, the NMM could be a lot better. I was so weak at NMM back then. But it's still a great piece, like, as far as the time period goes. And yeah, the fact that I got second to Victor Hardy in that category, who won the Slayer Sword, I was pretty happy. Especially because 40k single is such a competitive category. I will admit, guys, that I do have a competitive side, and that part of my urge to compete in Golden Demon, wasn't just to produce, like, pretty things that I liked, but definitely to go out and test myself against some of the better painters of the time. I'm less competitive now, like, probably because I feel like I don't have anything to prove here. I know I can do it. And then it's just the question is, am I motivated to do it? So now for painting competitions, it's like, am I motivated enough to put in the time and the work? Do I feel like doing it? I do have a Golden Demon project, but right now I'm not motivated because Golden Demons is very far away. Hopefully next year. But yeah, I mean, getting better. Part of getting better, small parts, is like, if you look at, say you really love Michael Proctor's stuff, or Derek Schubert's stuff, or Alfonso's stuff, or Kirill Kaneev's stuff. Say you see models online and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is so good. Or gal, for that matter. That's part of it, right? Like, if you were like, I want to be able to paint like this. I want to be able to produce a result that would make me so happy if I could do this, right? So that starts, in that case, it's like looking at the techniques that person uses and trying to figure out, what they're doing, what makes the model so good. Like, what do I really like about it? What if I break it down and I look really close at this section? What do I see? Getting your analytical brain on. Just doing some basic highlights here, and then I'm going to put some yellow over here. I'm using my white a lot to kind of, I want to get this blue blend in before I start stippling my colors on top, so. Oh, Bryce can't link it. Oh, it is stretch time. Thank you. Google Demon Winner free. Yeah. And competitive, yeah. I can be, but you know what? The thing is that I often don't like myself when I get super competitive, guys, so I think that's caused me to kind of back off of the whole competitive thing. I think that now, over the years, like, it's more about really, it has become a lot more about producing something that I love. Like, when I entered Sacrifice at Crystal Brush, like, it was, I had set a goal of making the photo cut, and I made it, and it made me happy. But it made me more happy that piece, I just really loved it. I loved the job I had done on it. And I loved, and it was great that people who I respected, like Ben Comets and Sergio, came up and were like, oh my gosh, the freehand is so good. It's that matters more to me now. Like, the feedback from my peers and my own personal enjoyment of the model matters more to me than trophies. And so I still like to compete. I still enjoy to compete, but I use it as a motivator to get me to do a really good job on something, to push myself, right? I use that competition as a motivator. And I think that's why I endorse competitions so heavily, is that if you can motivate yourself that way, it's a great way to get yourself to push. If you want to get better, like, a competition is a great way to inspire you to try new things. So, oh, thank you. Well, since you linked it, Nomad Zeke, I do have a Patreon. Usually, I was gonna wait till the end, but yeah, I have a Patreon, guys. It's patreon.com/paintingbig, and I'm about to have a special offer running in just a few days, where I'm doing a $10 bonus PDF on Sky Earth non-metallic metal, and I'm working on it still. Like, I thought it was done, but now I think it might need another section. it's been a work in progress. I put so much time into this. It's like 13 pages. But anyway, if you join at the $10 level, you get that as bonus content. And if you're already at my 10 or 15 level, you get it for free. And then I'm going to also be putting up some auctions of models. So there's my plug, patreon.com/paintingbig. And of course, I've got a crap ton of content on there because I've been doing this for over 2 years. So yes. It's a silly place. Let's not go there. Yes. So yeah, get up and stretch, peeps. Get up and stretch. Get up and stretch. Yeah. Hey, wherever you can go, Lord Nobody, wherever you can go to get inspiration. Like, for some people, it's Putty and Paint, where some of the top painters in the world are posting their stuff, and sculptors, too. You know, and for some people, it was Simon. And for some people, it's looking at, like, you know, like the box art on some of these, some of the models that they're really interested in or own, you know. And some people, it's Twitch and YouTube and watching people, you know, paint. Wherever you can get inspiration, take it. For me, because I had that competitive inclination, competitions made a lot of sense for me. And I also will admit that part of my motivation in competing was to get more women out there in the public eye as miniature painters, like top level miniature painters. Because when I was competing, there were just a handful of us. And now look at us. Like, I want to see our hobby be very equal opportunity. I think that geeks are naturally, like, open and welcoming people. At least that's been my experience with the hobby. And so I like seeing that reflected in our events, our cons, and our competitions. Was to get more women. To get more women represented at the highest level of miniature painting ranks. There we go. Yeah, sorry. I was on the floor and my mic is unidirectional so that it tries to cut out other stuff. Well, I do that all the time and it annoys David. I make up words all the time. I said Dr. Seuss gave me permission, and so I'm going to do it. Get more women, haha. Oh, did you look at the Overwatch? Yeah. Yeah, I love Overwatch. It's my personal little addiction. And Soldier was one of my favorite characters to play. So I haven't repainted my Mercy or my Tracer yet. And I've got the Diva, but I don't think I'm going to repaint her because she's such a great statue just out of the gate. But yeah, Soldier, that was like, I really had to stop and like study and try to find good examples of leather texture I wanted to do for Soldier. That's an example of me pushing myself. Like I had been burned out on competition for years when I started that Soldier model, and the fact that I loved Overwatch kept me in it, like trying to paint it, trying to finish it, and I finished it for ReaperCon that year and won a gold with it. Because there was a point where I was definitely getting burned out on painting. Like, I've run into it a couple times in my life now. Especially if you're doing it for a living, you know, as I was working for Reaper for years, and I wasn't doing a lot of staff painting for Reaper while I was in the paint department, was the head of the paint department, but paint department has a pretty exhausting job physically. And you're also still around miniatures all day. So you come home and you want to kind of take a break. And I've always had trouble with work-life balance on that. Like, I tend to push myself, and then I, like, crash. And then I, like, just don't want to even look at it. Sadly, it is a repetitive theme. I'm working on it. We all have crap we're working on, right? But yes, there have been a couple times I've been burned out in my life. And I find that if I get there, like, I have to take a break and just work on something, like, completely just for me or completely unrelated, or, as I've given this tip before, if you get burned out and you just don't feel like painting on the stuff you've been painting on, try switching genre or scale. So if you've been painting a lot of gaming models for your 40k army or your D&D game, and you're just like so burned out on painting, try painting a bust or something, or a statue, or doing a statue repaint. Or if you're like have been painting a ton of 40k, switch to fantasy. If you have been painting a lot of fantasy, switch to science fiction. You can re-energize yourself, because most of the time it isn't that you've come to hate the hobby. It's just, you're really sick of doing what you've been doing, and you need to rediscover your love of it. So you just need to look at it slightly differently. Yeah, sentimental. Yeah. Yeah, and when you feel it coming, take a break then. That was very smart of you. I think it takes a certain level of self-awareness too, and having had burnout before, to recognize the signs and go, okay, we're going to take a break. It's very easy to hit burnout when you do commissions, or when you're painting to a deadline, even if that deadline is your D&D game sessions. Oh no. That's too bad, Valandar. Yeah, Zen. I mean, sometimes you have to like kind of try to change your mindset and look at it from a different angle. That's why I say for me, for the hobby burnout, it's definitely if I change the scale I'm working on. Like that's why I went to Soldier when I was getting myself out of that burnout. Like that's why I reached for Soldier, because it was a 12-inch tall statue. It was the farthest way I could get from a 28mm model. So yeah, that's kind of where the painting big name came from, is because I realized at some point that I've painted so much 28mm over the course of my existence that I was like, just kind of burned out on it for a while there. And then I switched to big things to keep my love of the hobby moving. And then I realized I really enjoyed the big things. So then kind of get on yourself, Shadow Raven, kind of be like, okay, why? Or like, if you love painting and miniatures and you're burned out on it and you just don't feel like doing it, there's usually a reason. Either it's because you've been forcing yourself to work on a project that you're no longer interested in, or the model that you really want to finish painting has big problems that you're kind of like not really wanting to deal with. There could be all sorts of reasons. Like I find though that there is a reason for burnout. Often with me, it's that I've got too much on my plate and I need to step back and get my plate, like concentrate on one thing at a time. I'm so terrible about that, about worrying about 15 things at once. Then I just get exhausted. Nobody wants to paint at that point. So that can work if you feel like you're overwhelmed. Stepping back, cleaning out your painting stuff, taking it down to just 2 projects in front of you on the table. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that can be just destroying you, right? Like Liquid Nebula, yeah. And that will destroy your urge to paint. Yeah, so, I mean, there's usually a reason. We love the hobby, right? We love it, love it, love it. So if you're burned out, there's probably a very real reason for it. Sometimes you're buried in commissions. Sometimes your commission work isn't going well, but you still have to work on it because it's commissions and it's just killing you inside to have to work on this thing that's not working. The struggle is real with commissions. There's a reason I don't take very many these days. All right, we got a little bit too dark on the top here. I think I want to add some yellow up here. We're going to start adding some happy colors. Happy colors. It's Bob Ross time. Happy colors. Unhappy colors are not welcome. Yeah, Lord Nobody. I think that's very common. Oh, Kingdom Death. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a common cycle, Lord Nobody. I've had friends very much who were like that, who they're like, now they're into painting, then they're into like, like building. Then they go and they, you know, really just want to play computer games for a month, and then they come back around to hobbying after they've taken a break. I notice it with David, for sure. Like, there are times when he gets so into the hobbying, and then he just stops and plays a computer game for like 3 weeks. I can't do that. I have to work. Painting happy colors. Yes. Yes. Not happy colors, Val? They should be happy. You can have happy colors. You don't have terribly evil colors. Or maybe you do, and I just don't know about them. I mean, if you're evil yourself, then your evil colors are also happy colors. They're just only happy for you. So we're getting our little stipples on to get some of this warm color up onto the top of the model now. Bringing out some of that. I have to think about this piece here. I think I'm going to bring that in orange because I did that over there. Happy is all subjective. It's true. Yes, lots of hobbies. Maybe just start with something simple and fun, Shadow Raven. Like, pick a really easy model to get back in on. Like the dancing girl that I did, Nemezra. She's a really nice, fun, simple model. Let's see here. I got really blue there. I think I'm going to regret it. I think I'm going to regret this blueness. There, that's better. Just going to streak it in white. Bother with the blending later. Yeah, it's kind of sad that Bob Ross didn't go off the rails sometime and make an evil forest. But I think he was concentrating very desperately, hardly on being like a happy person. He probably had this super dark side. Let's see here. More yellow. Maybe a little bit of orange up here. I don't know. There are some swirls that I'm definitely mixing colors on. Like orange to yellow or yellow to green. I'm going to put a little bit of orange up here. Once again, we're stippling. I'm using the side of the brush. I've thinned my paint a little bit more, so I'm going to get a better blend out the gate with the stippling. You can also build stippling up, just like layering. You can build up layer on top of layer to get deeper texture and to create blends. So it's not just for speckles. Oh, thanks for the resub, Zen. 4 months. Awesome. Oh, funny. Evil can be beautiful, and Julian Bob would know. That's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense, Shadow Raven. I know other people who've been in jobs like that where you have to be really hard on people where when they quit, they just were like, I didn't want to be a jerk anymore. Yeah, me too. I have that same problem, obviously, sentimental, as you know. All my hobbies become income streams. Well, and at this point, since I don't have a real job other than this, I kind of need that. It depends, Rex. Like, okay, so up on the top of areas, you won't have as dark, if your light is falling from the top, you're not going to have as dark a shadows. So like, as I go through here, I'm going to probably be minimizing shadows like this one. And maybe just keeping a little bit of suggestion. The key is you need enough of a shadow to give you definition between the muscles, but you don't want it to be nearly as dark as shadows on other part of the figure because there's light falling all up here. So you may have to work your shadows, go a shade lighter. Essentially, it helps to remember that, like, the triad that if you're using a triad, your triads are going to shift. Where's my color wheel? So maybe your regular triad of colors is something like a 7, a 5, and a 3. So your mid-tone, like maybe we pick out a blue arm, or say you're picking out orky greens, and you've got like a darker green and a middle green and a lighter green. But on the upper side of the arm, you're going to want to shift that and go maybe 5, 3, 2, or 1, because the light is falling on the upper surface. And on the lower part of the arm, instead of, using the same thing, you're going to maybe go 5, 7, 9. So you're going to go for an even darker green on the underside of the arm. And as far as where exactly between muscles, like on the upper side of the arm, your value between muscles is maybe going to be a 5, which is really the same as your mid-tone when you're looking at the middle part of the arm. And then that 5 becomes your highlight when you're looking at the shadowed part of the arm. Do you see? So you're shifting. Like, it's just, where is the light falling? And you can work with that and kind of like screw around with it too. I mean, you don't have to go that. You can go more extreme, less extreme, whatever. Yeah, Valandar, I'm with you. I have had, obviously, Reaper counts. Well, I don't know. According to my dad, Reaper didn't count as a real job. But, I had a real job for a long time there. I'm enjoying, having more flexibility in my job now. The challenge is making enough money that you feel like you're all good. Like, for me, I was poor for a long time after college, and so the money stress it's real. But, you just keep trying. I have hopes that my new special offer will attract some new patrons. Alrighty. Now, this is probably still too dark, given that. Any job real or not, it still works. So true. Yeah, that's my opinion too, Twisted Oma. I mean, I still have to show up every day. Even if I wasn't, part-time employed by Reaper doing this show every day, I'd still have to show up every day and work on all my Patreon stuff. It takes a lot of time doing videos and PDFs. And not always, like, active time. Like, a lot of it is me planning, like, outlining what I want to cover in the videos or the PDFs, so that I make sure that I cover everything. Like, this SENMM, the Sky Earth NMM PDF that I'm doing for the special offer is, like, so complex. Like, I start very simply with it, because if you're just looking for NMM tips, I want that part of it to be useful to you, too. But then there's stuff... It's a very complicated subject. It's definitely a challenge. I feel like I need a little bit more pink, but I think I'm going to put the pink up there and go to orange down here. Maybe I'll put some pink here, though. Because I feel like I need my pink to come down at least a bit off of here. Oh, and we do need to green stuff her butt if we're going to do that. I'm kind of leaning toward that. And since we were talking about it, guys, I'm kind of thinking of just dropping the sword. Sword drop. Is that like a mic drop? Yeah. Yeah. I could probably go back to one if it was real lightweight, sentimental, but I want to make a success of this. I'm committed to it. Like, I'm almost there, too. I feel like I'm almost where I need to be really happy with what I'm making. And then everything else after that's just a cherry on top. Just doing a little bit of stippling back here also with some lighter blue, taking down my shadows on that top part there. Then I got to bring in some color here. Probably went a little bit too far with the yellow there. I probably want to go back to green there. Yeah, I took a break. cool. I'm glad you like it, Sentimental. Yeah, Inara. I own my own business and my boss is a real jerk. It's true. Oh, I did forget to hydrate, though. Hydrate, everybody. And forgot to hydrate. Drink! What would the painting big drinking game be? Yeah, it does. I mean, it's a diuretic too, Rex, but I mean, I think that you get a little bit more than you lose. You just have to account for the fact that it doesn't count for as much as a big glass of water. If you're tracking water intake. Which I do. Alrighty. Let's get this. This needs to be a bit more green, I think. I made it yellow. I think it needs, or actually, I guess it is kind of greenish, but my green is still very yellowy. I still need to get a little bit of purple on this too, so we're gonna do that in a moment. Want to block in a little bit of this green. I said I didn't want to go too heavy on the green, so. Drink every time you accidentally clean your brush and your wine. See, but I'm very well trained at this point because I always make sure my paint water cups are very different from whatever I have my drinks in. I never, because they're always different, I never do that. I never dip my brush in my water. The only time I'm in danger of accidentally cleaning my brush in my drink is if I'm at a con and so I'm using something unusual to drink out of. Because usually it'll be something that's more similar to whatever I'm using to clean my brush in. And then there can be confusion and dismay. But in general, my my Princess Unikitty paint water cup is hard to miss. And oh, no problem, Zambies. I totally get it. I end up raiding and running a lot because I'm usually off to do something else right after the stream that I'm on schedule for. So I get it. No hard feelings. It's all cool. We're just playing around with like our silly colors on the smoke. Yeah, doctors are more important than streams in general. Drink every time we blorf. Yeah, blorfs definitely. Blorfs need to be drinkable. All right, let's pop some of this lavender color that I made onto here. I'm going to thin it down. I still think it might be a little bit too light, too dark. So I'm going to actually make a separate mix of it. That's a little bit lighter. That way, if I decide that my purple is too dark, because see, here was our first one, and then I mix some white into it. The blorps. Bane of your painting existence. Yes. I don't know what the bane of my painting existence is. Deadlines. So we're going to pop some purple over here, and I'm going to see if it works. I just don't know if it's going to show up. Like, I can see it, but it's really hard to see on the camera. I think because the purple is just close to the blue. Because ultramarine does have a fair amount of violet in it. Now what I could do if I wanted this to stand out is I could grab some of my Runic Glow and I could add a highlight of Runic Glow on top of the purple, which would probably work to build a transition. You talking about me, Rex? Is that I extend painting a figure over more time than anybody else? That is probably because I stopped to explain a lot. And also because I'm just a very slow painter. Although, you know what? Left to my own devices, I think I paint faster. I think a lot of what slows me down on stream is that I'm talking and thinking about something else at the same time. I'm not concentrating on going fast. Yes, have a great lunch, Shadow Raven. Like, left to my own devices, I can speed up a lot, but it takes concentration. And I am not intrinsically a fast painter. I've always been one of the slowest painters I know. But I'm cool with it. Like, and the real test here is, you know, do I feel like it's boring? Like, if I feel like it gets boring, like I'm covering the same old material, or, you know, I'm not really bringing value, then that's a reason to speed up and get past parts. But if I feel like I'm still bringing value, and that talking about stuff as we paint, we're still getting a good experience. Okay, so there's our purple. It just takes a little bit more build up. Yeah, exactly. You'll challenge me on slow. Yeah, I heard it. I've heard you say that you are very slow as well, Bryce. I am very, very slow. I am slow, but I mean, I have been chucking out this halfling. Like, I just have to sit down and actually work on her, and she progresses pretty fast when I'm working on her, but it's just getting the time to sit down and work on stuff outside of all the other painting I do. Yeah, I think chatting, because you want to engage with your audience, you don't want to ignore them. So I think that chatting is gonna always slow you down on a stream. I'm mixing I'm putting a little bit more runic glow into this purple, or I'm creating a separate mix, which is part purple, part runic glow, to kind of make a pinker purple so that I can get some more pink highlights over here on these guys, and just maybe punch up that purple just a little bit. And I gotta thin it down because I added some pure white to it, so I need to thin it so that it blends nicer. But yeah, I do think that chatting and painting is definitely makes you go slower. And the other thing is, if you're trying to work out stuff while you're chatting and painting, then it's double slow, because then you're trying to like troubleshoot while your attention isn't fully on the model. Although I think if we look at how many streams it takes me to complete a project, we have been moving pretty fast. Like, I've finished a lot of models this year. So a little bit of pink on top of those purple swirls. I like that. There. Like, I'm just getting more blocked in there. But hey, now we have a rainbow. Rainbow swirlies. It's fun. I'm glad I decided to do it this way. Hello, Reaper John. Arriving exactly when you mean to. Yeah, sound alerts for a raid would be cool. Usually I'm looking enough at the chat, but yeah, you're right. If you know that you don't have to look at the chat all the time, then you're able to concentrate more on painting and go a little faster. But I mean, I don't know. I'm happy with the speed we do stuff at, because I don't want to always, like, my point is not to churn through models on this stream. My point is to spend some time with a model and talk about its, you know, pros and minuses and learn things from it, right? Like, it's not all about the speed painting. It's never really been about the speed painting for me, except getting stuff. Maybe when I was trying to do Warhammer models, I was doing some shortcuts, trying to get some stuff done. But even then, I stopped doing that at some point. I'm just like, I like to spend time with the model. Out of a meeting. Powering through, huh, John? ReaperCon stuff? Or Kickstarter stuff? Or any of the stuff? Reaper, as usual, has itself with a lot coming up. There we go. So yeah, rainbow smoke. We've got our rainbow effect on the front. Let's back out. Yeah, that looks cool. That looks cool on the bottom. I like that. ReaperCon meeting, ah. Val, you don't want to, like... if I look at Soldier, it was more than that. Now, given I took a break because I, like, had messed up his neck, and I was just like, this isn't working. What do I need to do? But I think sometimes I can't really look at the number of months, but for me, it's more useful to look at the number of hours. Estimated hours. Thanks, Evil Halfling. Because, yeah, I might pause a mini for a couple months, just not working on it because there's something on it that isn't working. But the actual number of hours that I'm spending on the model isn't reflected in the total time lapse. So you have to look at the amount of time that you're actually spending painting versus the amount of time that you're spending not painting and just staring at the model. But Val, you should finish that Mercy soon because you're almost I mean you're really close. You didn't have much left. That's exciting. It's always exciting to finish a big project. More stipples. More stipples. Stipples and stipples. Yeah. I spent a lot of time on this. I'm going to make it work, darn it. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I'm reluctant to do a total reset on a piece, so I get that, Max. Even when it needs it. Ah, too light. Need more dark. There we go. Yeah, I like the colors on this model. I really do. So next time, I think maybe we'll go back to the NMM on her. And I'm going to give more thought to the clouds and the color that I want to do for the... Yeah, I haven't. I was on the Discord a couple days ago. I haven't rechecked, Val. I've been too busy trying to get some of this other PDF stuff done. And coaching also. And videos. And all the rest. End of the month, expect me to not be as prompt on the Discord because that's when all my deadlines come due. So, the Discord sometimes has to slide a little bit.